Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're tackling something really quite puzzling. It's this paradox. How could people who saw truly impossible things happen, who had this undeniable proof of power and provision, how could they still struggle so much with just trusting? It's an old story, but you might find it hits closer to home than you expect.
Yeah, definitely. Our source today is essentially a reflection based on Psalm 78, and it's framed around this date, June 21, 2025, kind of like a prompt for a new day reflection. The whole point is to help us dig into that tension, that real push and pull between doubt and trust.
Right. So our mission here is to unpack this ancient account, figure out why seeing these incredible things wasn't, automatically believing for them, and hopefully uncover some insights that maybe shed light on our own lives, too, helping you maybe take a step from doubt towards trust.
Okay, so let's dive into Psalm 78. It doesn't really pull any punches, does it? It starts right off telling the story about people who saw God's power, got his provision, but just kept choosing not to trust. The line that really grabbed me was, even after miracles, they doubted. Even after mercy, they rebelled. It just seems backwards.
It really does, and the source calls it a sobering reminder. For exactly that reason. It highlights this truth that, seeing isn't necessarily the same as believing. You think it would be, right? You see a miracle, you believe. But this psalm shows it's much more complicated. The human heart can still choose doubt, even with proof staring it in the face.
Which is the big question, isn't it? Why? Because we're not talking small things here. What were some of these wonders they supposedly forgot or just ignored? Oh, they were huge, monumental, really. The psalm lists them out. Wonders in Egypt right there in zone, splitting the Red Sea, letting them walk through on dry ground while the water piled up on either side. That's...
Wow. Hard to forget, you'd think.
You would. And it wasn't just one-offs. He led them constantly. A cloud during the day, this pillar of fire at night. And then in the desert, the wilderness, he split rocks, solid rock, and water just gushed out like rivers, enough for everyone to drink. These were massive, life-saving acts, not subtle hints.
Okay, here's where my brain starts to short-circuit a bit.
Yeah.
Because despite all that sea splitting, water from rocks, divine GPS, what was their actual response? You'd expect, unwavering loyalty? But no.
You'd hope so. But the psalm is brutally honest. It says they sinned still more against him, rebelling against the Most High in the desert. It wasn't just forgetting, it was active rebellion. They tested God in their hearts, specifically by demanding the food they craved.
Demanding. After seeing water come from a rock.
Exactly. They actually spoke against God. They asked, almost scoffing, can God spread a table in the wilderness? Sure, he gave us water, but can he also give bread or provide meat for his people? It's this deep, challenging disbelief in his fundamental power and goodness.
And that really nails it down to that key verse, doesn't it? Verse 22. Because they did not believe in God and did not trust his saving power. Not just trust his spectacular power, but his saving power, his ability to actually deliver them day to day. That seems to be the root issue.
Precisely. It's that core refusal to rely on him for their present, ongoing needs, despite the past evidence. But here's another twist, something really fascinating. Even though God was clearly angry, he still provided.
Even while they were complaining and testing him.
Yes. The psalm says he commanded the skies above and opened the doors of heaven. He rained down manna, this grain of heaven, the bread of the angels, sent them food in abundance. And then he brought winds that blew and quail, raining meat on them like dust, tons of birds right into their camp.
Wow. Okay, so more provision, even in the face of rebellion. Overwhelming provision, actually. But knowing how these stories often go, this isn't just a happily ever after, is it? What was the ultimate outcome? The consequence of that persistent distrust and craving?
No, it's quite tragic, actually. The psalm paints a grim picture. It says that while they were eating, while the food was still in their mouths, before they had satisfied their craving, God's anger flared. And the consequence was severe. He struck down their strongest warriors, the young men of Israel, their unchecked craving, born from that lack of trust. It led directly to disaster.
That's heavy. And, it's so easy for us reading this thousands of years later to judge them, to think, come on, how could you not believe after seeing that?
Yeah.
But the reflection points out, this isn't just ancient history. How does this old story act like a mirror for us right now?
Well, I think if we're honest with ourselves, we see echoes, don't we? The source puts it pretty directly. How many times have we seen God provide maybe a job came through or a bill got paid unexpectedly, but we still lie awake worrying about next month?
Guilty as charged.
Right. Or we've experienced grace, maybe forgiveness we didn't deserve, but we still find ourselves chasing after, stuff Things that promise happiness but never quite deliver. We've heard the promises, maybe even felt that sense of peace or guidance, but then we live our day-to-day like it's all on our shoulders, like we're completely alone.
Yeah, that resonates. It really does show how fast we can forget the good stuff, how easily doubt creeps in, and how much we genuinely need to learn to trust, maybe it actively cultivate it.
And that's the key insight, I think. The source suggests this passage isn't here just to make us feel bad. It's meant to teach us. And the big lesson isn't just remember the miracles. It's something deeper. It's that real lasting faith isn't just about tallying up what we've seen. It's fundamentally about who we decide to trust. It's about the relationship, the reliance on the person, not just the proofs.
That's a really important distinction. So for you listening, as you process this, maybe ask yourself, where have you seen God show up in your life? Are there places where you have that evidence, but you still find it hard to really let go and trust him? What might it actually look like practically for you to take a step away from that doubt and towards trust, maybe even just today?
Yeah.
How can this very raw story from so long ago maybe help you in your own journey of faith?
Yeah, the invitation here is really powerful. Let the story humble us a bit, maybe wake us up to our own patterns, and then let it point us back towards trusting in that saving power, that reliable source of help and hope. It's a path towards, well, a different way of living.
It's been quite the exploration today, hasn't it? From these incredible ancient wonders and really relatable human failings to thinking about our own struggles with trust right now.
It has. And maybe the final thought to leave you with is just this enduring message from the psalm. Despite all the human failure in it, God is faithful. He is worthy of trust. And that's true even when things are tough, even when we can't see the full picture, and even when our own hearts feel shaky and prone to doubt. That's a powerful truth to hold on to.
Absolutely. Something worth reflecting on long after this deep dive is over. We encourage you to keep exploring trust and the wisdom you can find in all sorts of places. Until next time, keep digging deep.